Okay, and we're going. Yep.
All right. This is Playing the Forensics Game, Forensic Analysis of Gaming Applications for Fun and Profit. Pierre Kamenka III, Twitter handle at PH3Flyboy. Okay, so first off, an introduction. So, who am I? I'm a student at Wilmington University. I was a key member of the 2012 second place DC3 Community College team, the Cyberhawks. I'm also an open source enthusiast, and and I'm a gamer. And I'm a gamer who has way too much time on his hands. Okay. So why gaming applications? Gaming is popular. As of 2012, PC gaming had about 54 million people, and now Steam has surpassed 64 million people. Steam is the primary digital distribution gaming platform for PC gaming, and it has just surpassed Xbox Live in popularity. So, gaming applications leave forensic artifacts. You got log files, you got various stored user credentials, passwords, you name it, and you've also got web browser history. Now, you may be thinking, why is this important? Well, unfortunately, let's just say we'll get to that in a few minutes. Okay, so the real question is, how many people actually bother with these artifacts? I Googled it. There weren't that many people. So, how can you benefit from this? Okay, so blue team and red team can benefit by building targeted word lists. Let's say someone's a World of Warcraft player. How much you want to bet there's a possibility that their password is based on something from World of Warcraft? How much you want to bet that if they're a first-person shooter player, they might have, say, a gun name or a tactic as their password, or they might have a squad name. It helps building up the profile of the person. On top of that, you also have viewing configuration files, and that allows you to find weakly stored passwords and user credentials. So, you got blue team, and blue team can benefit because you can build up forensic tools, and you can actually find these artifacts. On top of that, you can also use logs and artifacts to place a suspect at the computer during a certain time, or a person during a certain time. Sorry. Red team can benefit because you got social engineering. Let's say someone's a World of Warcraft player. If you start talking about World of Warcraft with them, they're going to start trusting you a little more. You're going to build a rapport, and then you can social engineer them into giving up some useful information. And use your imagination. I'm not going to go into details as to some of the other nasty things you could do. I'd rather not have that on me. So, web browsers. Some gaming applications include web browsers. These gaming applications include Steam, Overwolf, Raptor, Origin, Evolve, and Xbox. So, why should this presentation will only cover Steam. The reason why Steam is the most popular one is kind of like you cover in Explorer for your introduction and web browser forensics. So, why should we care? Why should we care about gaming web browsers? And I'll just let Morpheus say it. You see, there are more attack vectors for exploit development, social engineering, and penetration testing. Furthermore, crucial evidence might be in the log files and the cache files for these browsers. And, of course, you might find they were somewhere they shouldn't have been. So, you got Steam web browser. It's WebKit based. It used to be based on Trident, but when they started shifting over to Mac OS X, they had to drop Trident in order to support OS X. It now runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux, so it's all WebKit based. Furthermore, you got limited functionality, and because of that limited functionality, you're not going to find as much as you would say find on Firefox, but you're still going to find some interesting stuff. And you're also going to have artifacts on disk, including local storage files and cookies databases. Both of those are SQLite 3 databases. you're going to find raw cache files, which are the files downloaded without the file extension, but the MIME type is still there. So if you just add the file extension, or if you're using Linux, you're good to go. And you're also going to find the favorites and history, as well as the 6 most recent web pages and 6 most visited web pages on big picture mode, which we'll go into in a minute. So there are 3 main components of the Steam web browser system. You've got big picture mode. This is going to be the primary. This is going to be the primary web browser in the upcoming Steam OS, which is going to be the Linux distribution that Valve is going to be creating in order to create their new console. It's going to be freely distributed, so this is going to be something that's going to be pretty important to know. Because this is going to be the primary browser of that operating system, obviously if someone's using that operating system, it's useful to know this stuff. So the Steam Big Picture browser is the main browser for Steam OS, and it's also got support for the 6 most recent history and the 6 most visited web pages. It also has support for favorites, which is important because you have the Steam client. The Steam client is the main digital distribution client. It's the primary client which is used by the system to download games and run games. It's also used to view community forums and also things along the lines of friends lists and web links open from the community forums. So all it stores is cookies and local storage, well, cache files. It doesn't have history, it doesn't have favorites, and it doesn't have most visited web pages. So then you've got the in-game overlay. This is what opens up when you press Shift-Tab in a game. And it comes up with a web browser, which you can use to browse the internet in-game. Now, if someone's doing something illicit, they might think, hey, no one's going to care about an in-game web browser, so I might be able to get away with something. And just like the Steam client, no history, no favorites, no recent or most visited pages. However, it does store, as the Steam client, cookies and local configs and cache. So, but wait, there's more. All this stores cookies and cache and local configs. So what's so important about this is this. Let's say someone's going and doing a Google search for, say, how to make a bomb. Obviously, they're going to start leaving artifacts. And you can find those artifacts in the SQLite databases as well as the raw cache files, and you can see, okay, this person might have been up to something. Because you know these artifacts exist, it's going to be easier to find someone who is doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. So, I know you love cookies. And, of course, now we're going on to password storage. And I'll just leave this up for a minute because XKCD has something for everything. So, as you can see here, the problem isn't password entropy, but rather password reuse. And that's going to be a big factor in what I'm about to cover. So, you got password storage, and gaming applications store passwords. Some of them ask you to do it, some of them just do it and don't even ask. So, you got various applications, and surely it stores passwords in a secure manner, right? Anyone? Does anyone here think they store passwords in a secure manner? I'm not seeing any hands, that's a good sign. So, you've got some games storing passwords in their own config files to their own logins. Now, you've got some of these which unfortunately are storing very insecurely, either in some cases, base64, usually with character array in that case, or even clear text. Some examples include The Sims 3 and the Calypso Media Launcher, which launches every game published by Calypso Media. Now, this is important because let's say someone's storing a password that is reused somewhere. Well, if you find out they're storing this password, you might be able to use that to log in somewhere else. And, as we all know, storing passwords in base64 is a bad idea. So, on the logs. So you got a lot of gaming applications that store logs. Some of them are configured to do it by default. Some of them can be configured, but most aren't configured by default. It should be noted that Steam does not store chat logs locally. I checked this out, and everything is stored on the cloud. You might be able to get it from memory. I have to research into that. And you might be able to get it from page file, but it does not store it in any sort of configuration or log file. So you might have to subpoena that stuff. Or, steal login credentials and log in XML trying to sync their back history on chat. Not that I recommend doing that unless you have legal ability to do so, but if you're investigating it and you have authorization, it's an option. So obviously some people consider these private messages in gaming to be private. Well, some dummy might decide to do a drug deal in a game. And as we all know, if a game says it's a private message, it's surely private. Wrong. I'll tell you exactly why. When you send a message on a game, it's usually unencrypted, and furthermore, it's being logged on the game's server. Usually these logs are stored so they can find terms of service violations, people abusing other people, or, for that matter, legal purposes such as a subpoena. So, if you know someone's on a game, you can send a subpoena to that game company, find out if they have any logs for that person, and you might find them doing something they aren't supposed to do. Furthermore, they might be sending things like credentials to a server. You might have someone saying, hey, dude, the server login is admin and the password is 1234. And there, you have more credentials. And you have another attack vector. So, you have credentials and, sometimes logs might get a hold of them. So that's always a good thing to remember. And you've got evidence. Now, let's say a game isn't logging chat history, it isn't logging logins, but let's say it's logging rendering or input or things like that. That can tell you someone was at the computer at the time. If their alibi was, I was playing World of Warcraft, you can check the logs and see, oh, wait, this person was active, this World of Warcraft instance was active, and possibly with this login name, which shows, obviously, that someone was there. You don't know that that specific person was there, but you do know someone was there, and that adds some credibility to their alibi, which is a good way in helping narrow down suspects, or busting someone if you find out there's nothing there. Furthermore, we're going to get, well, that's the end of the presentation. Questions, concerns, feedback? Yeah?
How did you start, what gathered your interest to start looking at this?
Frankly, I was playing a video game, I opened up the in-game web browser on Steam, and I thought, what forensic artifact is this leaving behind? Yeah.
The question. So the I don't know if you've used the Steam Linux client.
Yeah.
So when it went from beta to kind of, fully usable, they put a feature in there where you can actually report anonymously your usage statistics to Steam. Have you looked at the data that they're sending back?
Not to this point. Further research I have planned is actually network forensics and memory forensics of these gaming applications. I haven't gotten around to that yet. Anyone else? Yeah.
So, I was actually playing around with a add-on for World of Warcraft that ties chats together. Have you considered your tying private messages into another domain as a means of getting that credential information?
That is a possibility, but I haven't considered it. Okay. And that's my presentation.